Welcome to this episode of Minnesota Drummer. I'm your host, Paul the Rog Rogney. And on this episode, I have none other than Billy Thömmes on the show. How's it going, Billy?
Hey, nice to see you. Nice to be here.
It's great to see you, man.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of history to some of the people. I've been wanting to do a story on Billy for some time. And starting last fall, we were going to film, I think, 2 of your shows and then one this spring. And due to 2 blizzards and COVID, I haven't been able to film you yet.
Crazy. I know. Both those things were just like, are you kidding me? Come on.
In both last minute.
Yeah.
So on this episode, unfortunately, we don't have any drum solos of Billy or performances from Hairball.
Yeah, I know.
We got a lot of other killer stuff.
You have to come to a show. It's really all there is to
it. Definitely. So, Billy, I got to ask you, just to jump off. So, you 2 of the gigs you're kind of known for is Johnny Lang and then Hairball, and you're also a prominent studio player, multiple bands. During this time period that you haven't been able to perform, how has COVID impacted your year for you?
Unemployment has helped the panic level.
Mm-hmm.
And it started off with everyone. Hi, Kitty. I don't know. I mean, I started doing a lot of recording. Everyone just stayed inside for a bit, and everyone was kind of like, I'm going to buy a camera and I'm going to get all this stuff. I had recording gear set up, so I've been able to record. And so there was a bit of an uptick in that because that's all anyone started doing was recording. And so been doing a bunch of that.
Okay.
There's no gigs, Hairball, we had about 4 months off, and then we ended up doing some gigs in August and in this month too. October, there's nothing, and November we got a few things that might happen or might not.
Okay.
And December. So for the rest of the year too, it's going to be really light as far as Hairball stuff goes. We've been able to fit in a little bit, and it's been a mixed bag of stuff, but the shows have been fun. I mean, it's been super great to just go back and just feel like, do what you normally do. It's been great.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, things have kind of leveled off and summer set in, and I've been bicycling more and I'm golfing, just other activities.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how after doing more of that kind of stuff, when I get back into drumming, it just feels fresher, or I feel like my mindset is clearer going into things. But that said, I mean, I'm at a point where I feel like when winter comes, I'll be digging in a little bit more to playing at home and recording, but there's not going to be really any gigs. So I just, wrapping your head around that, it's just weird. But, just rolling with it and just trying to stay happy, because these times are just so crazy and so turbulent, and lots of just sad things happening this year. And I'm just trying to stay happy as possible. And so the drumming thing, I've just been drumming where the work is and when it happens. I feel like, I don't know, I want to do more, and I'm just like, send your stuff. I don't even care what it is, I just want to play on things and just get into my gear and get into my studio and just have a reason to do the stuff. It's lightened up the last few months. I really haven't done that much of stuff.
Okay.
I anticipate fall and winter picking up with that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Home recording and that's the only way people can kind of interact musically nowadays, is doing that. So,
well, from a teacher's point of view, with this time off, with people that are working a lot, me,
right.
What do you recommend for independent rehearsal? Like, what are you doing to keep your chops going? And then what do you recommend for other people that are just kind of like the people who love playing but just don't want to lose that?
I know you have all the opportunity now. There's no excuse to just dig down, and people have more time for that now. Everyone does. Doesn't necessarily mean I've kind of dug into that. It's just up and down with me, and it's lightened up. The last few months. I haven't really done. I've been playing less, but it's kind of conscious. I kind of want to pull back a little, but it's not dropping up by any means. It's just airing it out a little bit, and not even like the constant search for stuff, looking for work or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just kind of letting things happen, and I think things have just kind of lightened up. And as far as me and my regimen, that's what I actually am talking about with this fall and winter, digging more into that and more time indoors. I want to do outside things while we can be outside, and I just know with winter coming, I'm planning on more studying, and getting the books that I have, hitting the pages that haven't been hit yet, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, well, let's go way back. Let's go back to when you started drumming.
Yep.
Who were some of your initial inspirations to want to pick up the sticks, and then what kept you going, at least early on? What were some of your influences?
Yeah, well, I grew up, with my older sisters had a great classic rock collection of albums that was just always around, cassettes and albums of just lots of classic rock stuff. And so, however old I was when I first heard Van Halen Eruption, I kind of then really was like, this music thing is really exciting. I grew up with music. My dad has always sang and played guitar and stuff like that. And music was always around our family, and all my two older sisters and my younger brother. We just always had music around, piano lessons and all that stuff. So drums didn't really come in until band. I was in orchestra in 5th grade and played the violin. And then drums came along. And it just kind of hooked me right away. And I don't know, it just ever since. I didn't get a drum set for another couple of years after just playing the snare and band and stuff. So I was like around 8th grade. Okay. Around 14 or so, and I got a kit. And yeah, I think you heard a little of my story about my first drum set, my $10 drum set.
Oh yeah, but I gotta hear it again. I gotta hear, let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, this buddy, my neighbor buddy that we used to bike around with, our little bike group, our neighborhood church had a bazaar, and my buddy, his name was Potsy, is his nickname.
Okay.
He bought a kit. He bought this drum set. It was like basically a garage sale for all the churchgoers. They just lay all their stuff out and sell stuff. He bought it for $5. I bought it from him for $10.
So I made $5 on the deal.
Yeah. And I had it for a while. I played it for, I don't know, few years. I tore it apart, took the wrap off. It was a pearl fiberglass, and then like a 13, 16, 22 pearl fiberglass, no bottom heads, and then a 12 made in Japan mahogany tom mismatch. So I couldn't handle the mismatch after a while, and took all the wraps off, painted it black, tore it all apart, painted it black. That was my first time kind of really getting the inner workings of a drum, taking it apart and putting it together. And putting the t-shirts on the toms and all that. My dad had double stick tape at home. He had all kinds of just stuff, implements and whatnot. He had double stick tape, and I would find strips of foam and put double stick tape on the foam and put that underside the heads, put it underneath, like an early like muffles. Yeah, I did my own homemade version. I mean, no one showed me this stuff. I just had this stuff around, did it, and came up with sounds that way, and sold that kit for $200. And then, and got a Pearl Export kit. That was my first like real kit.
Well, first of all, I want to go back quickly. How do you remember how well the fiberglass shells worked and how it sounded?
I had back then I had no context to it. Okay. I had this past year. I acquired a kit, a Pearl wood fiberglass kit.
Wood fiberglass.
Yeah, and it actually was a pretty popular set for them in the, I think, early 80s, maybe late 70s, but early 80s. Was a kind of sort of an upper end kit, but it was mahogany, the good old mahogany that they made their shells from, but then lined inside with fiberglass.
Oh,
To
interesting.
give it more cut and everything, and it totally had more.
Mm-hmm.
Has a little more sharpness to it, a little more direct. Doesn't have the thick. It took that thickness of the mahogany, but it really added some nice clarity to it. But going back to like a fiberglass kit, yeah, I don't know. And I probably should have known. Maybe I picked up on those differences between a mahogany made in Japan tom next to a fiberglass. But I did all those treatments. I tried to make them all work. Mm-hmm. I didn't really know the difference though back then because I just didn't have nothing to. I was the first kit.
So your Pearl Export, what year did you buy that?
Let's see. Could have been like 89.
Okay, so I got to say something. Those Pearl Exports in the late 80s were amazing.
They're great.
If they would have made 24-inch bass drums, I would have bought a set of them because I used them a lot in the studio, and they just had amazing sound for such a cheap, affordable set. I couldn't believe it.
That was at a time when the machining of the kits that were made,
mm-hmm.
the budget kits, they're like made better than the, technically made better than the pro kits of the 60s and 70s. But we're talking we're talking vibe. The old kits have a thing, and you have to massage that, and you get a sound out of those. You just can't get out of new kits. So as far as that goes, yeah, Pearl Exports were, man, I think that kit has launched many drummers.
Well, yeah. Well, see, my first affordable kit were the Ludwig Rocker 2s, and those were absolute garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't get
the big toms, the like square size tom ones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So like I showed you earlier today, the picture of the Blaster kit.
Yeah.
What I had was I ordered the same size toms, but I had a 14 and 15
right.
for my modded toms.
Oh,
and I could only get 22-inch bass drums. It sounded killer, right? Yeah. But they were really hard to work. You couldn't get good tones with rebound. It was a very weird. It's like you hit the drum and it would like absorb.
Kind of a spongy, or like it would soak up your energy a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not coming back the way you would want it to, right?
Right. So when I used the Pearl Exports in the studio, I couldn't believe it. I thought it was going to be a horrible drum set because I used the Pearl Maxwin for a couple times.
Right.
They were garbage.
Yeah.
But the Pearl Export of the late 80s, early 90s, I couldn't believe it. Anyways, Eric Singer was promoting them, I was shocked. He was dead on that they were a great sounding drum set. So after your Pearl Export, what was your next drum set?
I worked at a music store in St. Cloud, and I had access to gear. I was able to get gear at a decent price, so I took out a loan and bought a Ludwig Super Classic. And
okay.
Blue, I think it was called Blue Shadow finish. It was the translucent, kind of a turquoise blue. You can see the wood grain through it.
Yep.
I forgot the name, what they call the long lugs.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that on all the toms. I did a custom 8. So I did 8, 10, 12, 14, 16.
Okay.
Even sizes, 22 kick.
Mm-hmm.
The 8 I had custom because I think they were doing even like a 9 depth or something. Or no, what was it? No, I cut the 12. They didn't do a 9 by 12. They did 10 and 8. So I had a custom. So the 8, 10, and 12 all had a 9 depth, which was what I was going for that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I played that kit for, quite a while. I don't know how many years. I love that kit, and I wish I still had it.
What was interesting about that series of drum, too, is that outer veneer you're talking about, they would actually soak that whole veneer. So if there was a scratch in it, it would keep it transparent for much longer.
Yep. Yeah, totally. And you could see it like on the edge, sometimes on the bearing edge, a little bit of bleed on some of those kits. But it was a great kit. You know what got me on it though, and I kind of back then it was all about 100% maple shells.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, if you're talking DW or any of the other companies, 100% maple, that's what you want. But these were maple shells, but it's got poplar. What's this pop? This kind of filler wood, and I didn't like that at the time. I was kind of bumming on that. In hindsight, that's why I still wish I had the kit. In hindsight, I mean, I just know actually that helps. That can actually really help the sound, or just it helps the vibe of the kit. It really softens and warms up a kit really well. So back then, that's why I sold the kit. I wanted to, once I got my Slingerland deal and I had 100% maple shells on those kits, I was like, well, I don't need the Ludwig anymore. So I sold it.
So let's back up. Let's talk about your first couple of bands before your big band.
Yeah.
So what was your starting? What did you start out at with some of your bands?
Well, growing up I'll back up to St. Cloud, and right when I was leaving St. Cloud, I got to a point where I was working at a music store and I was in a house band at the red carpet there.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I was playing every Monday. Back when we did music 7 nights a week, remember those days?
Fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, that was the good old days. And so I was in a band called Mona's Gravy, and we played Pink Floyd and Little Feet and all kinds of stuff that I've not played before. So that was fun for me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I got an offer to join a band that I kind of grew up watching called Riff Raff.
You were in Riff Raff?
You didn't know that? Yeah.
Dude, like I told you, I hate to admit there's a lot about your earlier days I don't know. So Riff Raff, was that with Randy?
Yeah, with Randy.
Wow, because I knew Randy during that era, but I didn't know you were in the band at the time.
Okay, yeah, and this was 93, January of 93. That whole year till January 1st of 94. I swear it was like January 1st to January 1st. I moved to St. Louis and I joined that band. Put all my stuff in their rider truck where the PA and all that stuff was. We just took all my stuff and just laid it on the top and went to St. Louis, January 1st. And I lived there for a year, and that was my first kind of like semi-touring group. Regional touring. We went from Colorado to Ohio to Oklahoma, so just kind of central. Mm-hmm. And we had a station wagon and a rider truck with all the gear, and so I did that for a year.
Okay.
We moved back home in 94. I kind of dropped out of that group. I got a job at Guitar Center. And I moved to St. Paul, so I'd moved to the cities. Okay. And then from 94 to 96, those 2 years, those were kind of moved to the cities with the goal of just getting established in town. Mm-hmm. Kind of my big goal at that time. So just started meeting people, working at Guitar Center. I met people, and I went out all the time to see bands and meet people. And a Greasy Meal gig. I think it was the first Greasy Meal gig ever. I'm pretty sure was there, and I met this guy Ross Hanover, and he had a band. So yeah, basically I went to a friend of mine, Trent Norton. I said, "Hey, I'm looking for work. I'm looking for a band." I know a guy over here. Walked over to him, talked to him, and made the connection. Started playing in this band called Nun's Honey. Pretty unique group, alternative, kind of 90s alternative thing. And Nirvana meets Beatles type of vibe. Really cool stuff. I mean, really cool band. I love their music to this day. I think it's something that could have done something. Mm-hmm. And I was in another band, Barb Cohen and Little Lizard, which was like a folk rock band. And I replaced Mark Anderson. I don't know if you know Mark Anderson. Masterful drummer, percussionist. Can play many styles. He's just a brilliant musician. So I got to fill his shoes. Michael Bland was doing Nun's Honey, but didn't have the time for it. And so I got in on that.
Wow. And
so 2 different groups, 2 different vibes, but we played around town, played for the Entry, played First Ave, Caboose, just all the clubs, 400, Five Corners, just all the Minneapolis bars. And I did that for a couple of years and just kind of toiled around and had a day job and did the grind and did gigs at night. Sometimes fill in work of just, jobbing bands, cover bands and stuff to make a buck. And then the Johnny gig came around at the end of 96.
Well, prior to the Johnny gig, what were you doing to position yourself to make a name for yourself and get some session work? I mean, you didn't, like you've told me, you haven't had a lot of formal training.
Right. And I ended up doing some session work when I was with Nuns Honey, that the John Fields, local producer phenom, he's such an awesome dude. I did some sessions for him. He recorded the band Nuns Honey. He did some sessions for them prior to me joining the band with Michael in the band.
Okay.
And then we ended up doing some sessions with him at Pachyderm. And that was like my first kind of like real recording session, like in a real studio, was Pachyderm.
Mm-hmm. Well, that'd be a great experience.
It was just killer. It was just so awesome. I was like on the session playing, like, I brought my drums, and they all worked out great, but there were some drums sitting around at the studio. Oh, these are Grant Hart's drums. And I played,
Really?
on one song, I played this 8-inch leady snare drum. It just was the fattest sounding snare I've ever heard in my life at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just cool. And like, I got this fat leady snare playing this killer kit, playing through this mixing board that Back in Black was recorded on, and like, I'm just loving it. So through John Fields, I got to do some sessions, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot in a short amount of time. In those 2 years, when I moved to Minneapolis, meeting people and meeting new people and different types of music, doing original music and all that. I don't know. I just went with it, and you just show up with what you got, and you learn on the spot. Hopefully.
Wow. That's not easy though. That's not an easy thing to do. And it's very commendable, because there's a lot of people competing for that spot. Mm-hmm. And you either have it or you don't. So I mean, it's phenomenal.
I'm the first to get replaced all the time. So I mean, and I've been on both ends of it. I've been replaced, and I've been the replacer. I know how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy, but it's just. But that's part of the lesson. This is how the biz works. This is how it works. Right. And it's the producer's call, and it's not the band. It's all that stuff. And so I learned a lot those years.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, like I said before, I want to play. We got 4 of your videos. I want to play your videos. Okay. I'm excited about this because we can all have an opportunity to see you play in something other than just Hairball, and some of the other gigs you've had. Can you set up the gig for Tapped in YT? I think this is so exciting. Can you tell me about this project you got going on?
Oh, well, this was just a one-off. I have a couple other videos that were just posted on Facebook. That's COVID stuff. That's people getting together like, hey, I got this thing I cut, and they send it to you, and then you cut your thing on it, and then you send it off to another guy, and then they put their thing on it, and there you go.
Well, talk to me
nowadays.
Do you know these guys?
I know one of them. Okay. Craig Soderbergh on guitar I've known for years, and he was in a band called Itis.
Okay.
From Colorado. It was a cover band, and that played a lot of the same places that I played, and got to know all those guys pretty well. So I've known Craig for a long time, but Craig's lived in Hawaii for many years now. I haven't seen him in a million years. Just know and keep track through Facebook. So what happened was, I did a track of my own. I was just making my own music. When I got my recording gear, I just started digging in and just messing around, and I made some little videos and little clips. And I made one, and he just took it right off of Facebook, took the video and the audio, and just put guitar on top of it. Killer guitar on it, and it just transformed it, made it so much cooler than it was. Mm-hmm. And posted it. I'm just like, God, that is awesome, man. Thank you. That was really cool. And he had fun doing it and whatever. So, and then but it was a couple years later until this thing happened, at least a couple years or something. But he just came over, hey, would you want to do some more recording? Of course, I'll record with anyone. But he just had this thing. And I know this bass player. And the bass player, I think he used to play in Taiketo, or he still does.
Really?
I think. And he lived in Texas. His name is Jamie Scott. And he's killer. Like, he's like, well, yeah, you saw him doing this tapping and all that
stuff.
Yeah. He's great. So both really great players, and that's I think the 3rd video.
Okay.
We have 3 that we've made, and it just started with the bass player has this thing, and then he sent it to Craig and put some guitar on it, and then I just finished it off, and they're very fun thing. All 3 of things were a little different, and fun project.
This is a fantastic song.
Yeah.
So When we come back, I want to ask you again about your early influences. We got one influence, but we didn't get any more. So think about some of your top 5 to 10 drummers, and then we'll go from there and talk about your Jonny gig.
All right, sounds good.
There we go.
One of our fellow Minnesota drummers needs our help. Eric Ballard's daughter, Emery, has been diagnosed with leukemia. Emery was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia on August 17th of this year. Emery's current treatment plan consists of her receiving aggressive chemotherapy and then a bone marrow transplant. Eric and his family ask that we follow Emery's progress on their designated Facebook page. A link to the Facebook page will be in the show notes of this episode, and they ask that we keep Emery in our prayers that God will heal their daughter. And this is a point where we can help. Any size donation that we can make will help with monthly expenses and medical bills. I ask you to consider any size donation, even a small amount will help. In these times, I know money's tight. Any size donation is valuable. This is crowdfunding at its best. A link to where you can donate will be on the show notes of this episode. Eric Ballard is a prominent drummer in the Minnesota drumming scene. Please consider donating today.
Welcome back. And first of all, I just want to send out my love to Eric and his family and his beautiful little daughter. I hope you guys are doing okay. You're always on my mind, so many of our minds. So prayers are with you and all of you.
I'm doing well.
Again, all of you, just not to keep on asking for money, but please consider any amount, literally any amount will help this family. And he's a local drummer. We got to stick together. We're family. So that's what's great about this town. Anyways, so I just want to say that is such a killer video. And what stood out to me is that you actually detuned your drums quite a bit. You kind of kept them like dead and not a lot of tone. I haven't heard you play with a set tune like that before, I don't think.
Yeah, that's just studio stuff. I mean, when it comes to studio, I mean, anything goes.
Okay.
Rounds. You know, I just went that direction because it just seemed to fit the music. If I went to something more resonant or whatever, it just changes the vibe. And I just wanted something, it just is warm, fat and warm, and it matched the tones of the guitar and bass. So that's why I went that direction. But
phenomenal. It really showed your chops, man. You're a phenomenal drummer. So killer.
Okay.
All right. So you have time to think about some of your earlier influences.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a tough time talking about influences. I love so many drummers. It's hard for me to stop with something. But I mean, if we could talk early,
Early, yeah.
I mean, obviously John Bonham is just kind of a core influence for me. Just based on stuff I learned a lot of drumming from just playing to cassettes and playing along with music. Really how I learned a lot in the early days. I did learn how to read and do all this stuff in school. So I can read, write music and all that. Mostly like drum notation, not, the melodic stuff. But the stuff I used to play to. I mean, so I used to play to all the Zepp records. That really was like the launching point to a lot of different stuff. When I first got my first kit, Motley Crue, Rat, and and that type of music and that genre was what I was into at that time, and listening to Iron Maiden, just all the metal from the '80s, and so that would be my influence then. It's just the drummers of that era at that time. But I mean, Zeppelin would it just branched off into all kinds of different stuff. And I started getting to prog rock, kind of like end of high school, get into college. Yes, Bill Bruford was huge. I mean, I don't know, I don't know why do you just get into a sound of a snare drum so much, or something that can just hook you so hard and just, that's so cool sounding. Well, why? I don't know. It's just a snare sound, but it's an identity, and it's something that, I don't know, you can kind of somehow relate to it in some way. I don't know why. And so I got into Bill Bruford's drumming, which led me into Crimson and that kind of music. I got introduced to jazz in high school. I'm not a great jazz drummer by any means, just because I just didn't grow up with it. I've always been a drummer, like I'll kind of replicate what I hear, or I can kind of pick up on maybe what they're vibing on, but the depth of it, there's so much more to it, and than just the sound of things and how you play a song and stuff. It really comes down to how you play a song, really. But so I've always been into jazz drummers and fascinated with them. In high school, I was introduced to more like the kind of Maynard Ferguson and Stan Kenton type stuff, because that's sort of what our high school bands were playing, college bands and stuff. And so I got into those. I love those drummers, from Peter Erskine, and is it John Van Olen? Is that his name? But those jazz drummers from back then, again, these are early influences from just stuff I was listening to and just picking up stuff. Greg Bissonette, he used to play with Maynard. Now he's playing with David Lee Roth, who I love, and what a phenomenal drummer. I'm naming off guys that I don't even normally talk about, but these are just along my path. There's so many drummers. That's why it's hard for me to will it down. There's just moments and times where I'm into totally different kinds of music for extended periods of time. So what's that? I get into a certain thing. Like I listen to just Art Blakey for months and months and just love it. Or Tony Williams, just totally get into it. It's like I'm just trying to gain understanding of it, because I'm a rocker. I just love rock stuff. So.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that you are, you're kind of a rocker, but at the same time, you're so versatile in your playing, and you've picked up so many phenomenal techniques from multiple players. Yeah. I was wondering specifically when you got into jazz and fusion, because that's very prominent in a lot of your work.
Yeah, well, and that was high school and getting into college and stuff. But that continued, and I would probably say I'm probably as good of a jazz drummer as I've ever been, due to understanding. I even did a big band session a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago. Did a big band session at Terrarium. And I was a bit intimidated by it. Gordy Johnson on bass, the Hornheads were on it, stuff. It was just like, wow, I feel out of place. But I was hired because the guy wanted like a session drummer, not a jazz drummer. And I was still pretty intimidated by the whole thing, but it all turned out great, and it was fun, and it was really cool. And I like being able to do that. And if I can get calls for that, if I can pull it off, great. Because I told them, like when they were calling me, I'm like, look, I got a list of 10 drummers here that would just be way better than me on this, and that you should just do that. No, we want to go. Have someone who's not really the jazzer, but can just, we don't want total jazz guy. It's like, okay, cool, I can do that.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, I just like to do all kinds of stuff. I'd love to play old country music and just boom chicka boom all night. I don't mind.
Okay.
I just like playing good music with good players, and it's not so much a genre of music, but I just want it to be true to itself, and then just have really good musicians, and that's what I have fun doing and being a part of.
That's fantastic. So that kind of leads us into your gig with Jonny Lang. How did that come about, and when did you start playing with him?
Yeah, an old St. Cloud buddy. He's still one of my best friends. Paul D-Town, guitar player in a band called Slip Twister at the time. And I just kind of grew up with the guy. He worked at the music store that I went to as a teen, and he just, I guess, took me under his wing to a certain degree. Me and my brother, we used to just go hang out with him because he was just a funny guy and an amazing guitar player. And so fast forward to 96, and I was in these other bands, and I had a day job, and my friend Paul got hired to play in Johnny's band. Johnny's first band, the Big Bang, left him abruptly, and kind of left him, and we needed to hire some people real quick to do a 2-week tour. And so my buddy Paul got hired, and Doug Nelson got hired from that, and Bruce McCabe stayed. He was just always in it from the Big Bang through that period.
Okay.
And then Paul got hired full time. They asked me to get part. I'm talking to him on the phone. He's giving me updates on stuff. Yeah, I'm in Louisville, and we're opening for Buddy Guy, and it's all this. We're in New Orleans. We're doing. It's like, wow, man, this is great. Good for you. This is killer. And I was pretty aware of Jonny at the time, just because he was blowing up locally.
Right.
And you're playing things like Cedar Fest, and like just tons of people. So he was blowing up. But then the drummer that they had wasn't working out for whatever reason, and Paul's like, "Should I give him your number? You want me to give him your number?" And I'm just like, "Sure, I guess." You guys, sounds like you guys are having fun, so why not? And so he gave me his number, and yeah, let's do it. They were coming back to town. They had, like, after this 2-week tour, yeah, we got a few dates at home. Why don't you do those? That was sort of my audition, was these 3 shows.
Okay.
And what we did, one show, I think it was Homecoming, U of M Homecoming. A huge tent for, I don't know, a couple thousand people or something, huge. But we rehearsed in his basement a few times. It was great. We did the show, and it went really well. Jonny really liked it. It's like, wow, that was whatever. He just really enjoyed it. And Paul just kind of did the little, oh, you liked him, so why don't you hire him? Just kind of like,
yeah.
I got hired that night.
Wow. Fantastic.
Off of one show, and then so I could leave my day job, and hop on the train. And yeah, I got in right when the rocket was taking off, really, because it was a few months later in January. So all this happened. This was a week before my 27th birthday, I think. 26th?
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was turning 26. So, yeah, and then got hired, and then we did these other 2 shows, and then that was it. We started playing locally, but then it was, all right, this record's coming out, and then I don't know. It was really amazing 8 years, and did just so many fun, amazing things. And it just kind of kept coming. Oh, Letterman now? Okay. And then, but it was one of those things when I first got in too. I mean, I even thought, like, this is something that might play the Tonight Show or those type of things. Like, wow, that was the first kind of even hit me. And then it was months later when we actually were doing that.
That's just crazy. So can you talk to me about the recording sessions? What was that like?
Oh, for Jonny? I was mostly his live drummer. Didn't really yeah, okay. No. So Lie to Me was already in the can. It was already done by the time I was hired.
Okay.
So it was already done. David Z did it, and David Z, he always has his guys. And so my previous years, I always learned. So I already learned that lesson prior to even getting into Johnny's thing. But like, so the record was already done.
Okay.
And then when it came time to do Johnny's next one too, and we just figured, well, we might be in line for this. But David Z did the second record, but he brings in his ringers because that's what producers do. You want to it's got to be done right. You don't want to mess around with stuff. So, and it was Richie Hayward.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Richie freaking Hayward. So I was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, man. But so it was it's a little humbling though when that kind of stuff happens.
Right.
And
so can you talk about that? Talk about how, like, emotionally, what do you go through when you're the guy live and you're also, you're not being allowed to record?
I'm not good enough to record. I'm not good enough. I'm not that good. That type of stuff can enter your head pretty easily. I kind of took from the Kenny Arnoff page. I got inspired by his story because I don't know if you hear about him in Mellencamp.
No, not in depth.
In the early days of Mellencamp, I mean, they brought him in to record. He was hired to be in the band, but then when it came time to record, he apparently wasn't cutting it at the time, and they just kind of like they're bringing someone else in.
Okay.
And Kenny had to kind of set his foot down. Just they were going to fly him home. He's like, no, he wanted to stay, and his whole thing was he wanted to stay and watch and observe and learn from the process and watch what's this guy going to bring that I can't bring and all that kind of stuff. So that story resonated with me at that time where I'm like, it would suit me to do this instead of just sulk or just listen to the record after the fact. If I have the opportunity to come down and hang out at these sessions and check it out, see how this stuff works, it's in my best interest to do that. And
so you did that. You actually saw Richie play?
Yep. Oh, yeah. And he was great. He was totally cool. And, I'm sure it can be a weird, hey, there's Johnny's drummer over there, and then he's got tracks right there in the room. I can understand all that kind of weirdness around, but it was all cool because I'm just a fly on the wall. Don't mind me. I'm here. But, hung out, talked to people that were all milling around the studio, and you just catch the vibe, see how it works for David and all this other stuff. Now, afterwards, after Wander This World, we actually we did record with David Z for the third record. We started the process. And we came in, I think we cut like 4 tunes, and he brought in he worked with his other guys too, but he did some sessions with us too. Because Johnny kind of, said he wanted to make that call. And the thing is, we did some demos, were supposed to be demos for Bruce McCabe. Bruce McCabe had some songs for Johnny, in mind for Johnny, and we wanted to cut demos for them. And so we went to the Terrarium, and so it was Paul and Doug and me and Bruce. And as a 4-piece, we just started cutting stuff. Okay. And it ended up being Bruce McCabe's solo record stuff. It would end up being on a record that he released himself. Okay. And but we recorded some of those songs for Johnny as well. Mm-hmm. And I know that David Z heard Bruce's record too, and it's like, who are these guys? It's Johnny's band, dude. Come on, bring them in and cut them. So we had the chance to do that, and we did. And we cut some songs. And then basically the music world it was the beginning of the end of the old music biz as we knew it, the way record companies were back then. So this is when all A&M and Geffen got bought by Interscope, and like all these conglomerate things were going down, like just companies were buying companies and all. So big changes. Wow, everyone at A&M's gone, or like almost everyone that you knew for those years, for those last 3 years or so, 4 years, they're gone, and they're all replaced with Interscope people. And like, so when it came time for Johnny's new record, all the old stuff kind of ended up getting shelved. Somewhere it exists. All these sessions, old David Z sessions. There's a missing Johnny record somewhere, probably in there. It's maybe someday he could possibly see light of day. Who knows? but it was fun to be a part of that process and to work with David and see how David works. And it was just a unique thing. It was definitely, being on the hot seat at that time and trying to deliver for the moment.
So what was your biggest takeaway from watching Richard Hayward play?
Well, he was already just one of my favorite drummers at that time. So I was just in awe. It's the same as what I feel about him now. And whenever I hear him or see him, no one played like him.
Okay.
He had an approach and a feel and something that no one else has to this day that I can't really put my finger on. He's his own drummer, and he's just always been such a killer drummer. So, it was just fun to watch. They're creating songs. They're, just watching him in the creative moment, how they're getting along, and how they're communicating stuff. I'm just watching.
Well, your professionalism and personality in that situation obviously is what helped to further your career. A lot of drummers would not put up with that, and I think that's phenomenal that you did. I mean, that's just a great attitude to have to further your career. To always think of every situation as a learning.
Yeah, I'm a pretty humble guy for the most part, and I feel very fortunate and lucky for all the breaks and all the things I've been able to do. So I've always tried to keep that for that through that moment. I've been on the other side of that too. Johnny, I've been to that, like, wow, I'm used to this, and now back to this, and so it's humbling. But I know there's times when I didn't deal with that too well.
Okay.
And people around me had to like kind of deal with me with that kind of stuff. So I learned a lot with that through the years as well.
It's fantastic.
So yeah, they're important lessons to learn for anyone to learn, and whether it's in life, but the microcosm of music is very important to work with, and relationships are super important.
Well, being humble and flexible as a musician or professional of any level is really what gives you longevity in a career that you love. I mean, you have a fantastic career, whether you feel like you do or not. You do. At least you're not sitting behind a desk rotting to death like I am. So,
Sure.
quick question: What were you going to school for in St. Cloud?
Well, I got a scholarship to go to St. Cloud State, and
Okay.
so it's weird. So my senior year of high school, the jazz director heard me play the drums. I wasn't in jazz at the time, but I was just playing the drum set at the school, and the jazz director heard me and wanted me to come in and play. They already had a drummer. I said, "You already have a drummer? No, you should come in. Come on and play." So we did a split chair thing, and I was only in jazz band my senior year, and that's my first time reading charts, drum set charts and stuff, and just taking all that in. But again, I think it was my ears that really got me going in that.
Okay.
And from that, yeah, Tim Gass at St. Cloud State, he was looking for a drummer for his following year, and I guess I got on his radar somehow. I think probably from my jazz director at the time at high school. So I got a scholarship, and that's how I got my ACTs that got me into college. And I did that for almost 2 years. I almost completed 2 years. I didn't quite finish 2 years worth of that. It was a point I wasn't into school at the time. I wasn't too disciplined. I was going through personal stuff. My mother passed away right out of high school. So it kind of changed the course for me for a bit. And I was a kind of a party animal when I was younger too, and that too. So a lot going on. It was a turbulent time, but it was still a time where I was having fun playing drums and doing whatever. And I did the school thing, but the school thing I couldn't at the time. I just couldn't get on. I knew I was wasting my time, not fully investing myself in that process. The music stuff I was. But all the other stuff, all the other classes, I just wasn't having the best time with that. So I just decided I don't need a degree to go play the things I want to go play. Let's just give it a shot and see how it goes. I can always go back to school. Let's just see how it goes. and I kept going that path, and that's it. And I wish I could have done more with that. I wouldn't mind having a degree.
What would your degree have been in?
I'm not sure. It would have been something music related.
Okay.
And that's what I was aiming for at the time, to degree wise.
Okay.
I'm sure I was going that direction with it. But
okay. Well, I want to take a break here. I want to play a couple more videos. I'm going to play 2 back-to-back.
Okay.
First, I'd like to do the TV spots of you and Jonny. Or I should say Jonny with you, because you're the drummer, backbone of his. And then on top of that, would you like to play North Country next?
Okay. Cool.
So could you give us a little bit of background on the TV spots, and then tell us about North Country?
Yeah. I don't know which ones we got, but if there's a Leno one, if there's Conan, I think the Conan one.
Conan and Leno.
That's our Conan. Lie to me. That's our first American national appearance, and that
really?
That was a crazy time. That was our first American TV. We did a nationwide Canadian TV show prior to that, but then this is our first American show, and we were touring out west, and we played in Vegas, and when these calls come in, sometimes these appearances, they can be kind of last minute oftentimes.
Okay.
So this one was somewhat, even though Johnny Star was rising, and all right, we got a hit, so all right, we're gonna play a show now. And so we were in Vegas, and we did a show, flew red eye to New York, flew overnight, and did the show. We did the show on just 2-3 hours of sleep. Just really tired, but it was such a amazing experience. Obviously, first time doing the show, New York City, doing the whole thing. It was huge, and so I thought it turned out really well. The singer on that is Lisa Fisher, who was Rolling Stones backup. Well, she sang with a lot of people. She's one of the top. She's in the movie. Is it 20 feet, 30 feet to stardom or something? It's about backup singers.
Yeah.
Brilliant documentary. She's featured in it. She's unreal. And so that was, it was really, really fun. And to meet Conan and Max and that whole thing. And I think Leno, I don't know which one that is, but that's years later. We played on Leno.
2017. So we watched the videos. The 2017 goes before the 2016. I made a mistake. I apologize.
Oh, no.
But they'll be reversed. But the backup singer on that one's a guy.
I don't think so. Is it Still Raining? You know if the song's Still Raining?
I can't remember.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, man.
No, it is. If it's second guessing, then yes, then it's Paul Detom, our guitar player, doing backups. So if it's that one, yes, that's what that one is.
Okay.
We played on Leno kind of a lot through the years, or I don't know, 5-6 times, I think.
That's fantastic.
Something like that. I think at least 5 times. Leno a couple of times, Letterman 2-3 times. So, we did all those. We did all the morning ones too. So
when we come back, I want to talk about what that experience was like. Then we'll also talk about gear. But then also, could you also introduce North Country?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now.
Right now. Is that what
I'm gonna do them back to back.
Okay, and then this is North Country, a song by a band I was in called Rocket Club, which was a band that ended up that's what we labeled our brand of music too. It's not country music, it's North Country music. So and we the guys in the band made an anthem about it, and that was a fun thing to be a part of too. So we can talk a little bit more about Rocket Club as well.
I like the Rocket Club. I love that video. So here we go.
Cool. Dig it.
First of all, I'll kick off the Johnny Lang stuff, and then we'll go into the Rocket Club.
17-year-old blues sensation whose CD Wander This World already sold over 1 million copies. Please welcome Johnny Lang.
one by one fill the sky. Just like these tears that fill my eyes. Well, I know by now she ain't coming back. And I watch my world slowly fade into black.
Hey everybody, at the age of 16, when most kids are just learning to drive, my next guest is climbing up the charts with his debut album, Lie to Me. Please welcome, this guy's incredible, Jonny Lang.
Winter has a reason, otherwise it'd be no spring. When summer comes, we'll soak it in and play away through autumn. Raise your glasses if you got 'em, and let's toast the whole damn thing. Redneck from the great white north country. See
awesome.
In the 1980s, Eccentric Systems developed a cam for bass drum pedals, becoming the standard design for many of today's pedals, including the popular GW9000 series of pedals. The Quick Torque Cam is an aftermarket add-on that can be installed on just about any pedal without any permanent modification. Its unique adjustable design maximizes the efficiency of any force you apply to the pedal, returning the beater 30% faster while providing more impact. This is a cost-effective way to breathe new life into your existing pedals. Be eccentric. Visit eccentricsystems.com to get yours today.
Something you have to add to that commercial is that Quick Torque is actually a Minnesota company.
Oh, yeah.
That's Lucas.
He's not too far from my house, I don't think.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I don't know, I think it's just a few miles from me.
Yeah, so those things actually work. They're really cool.
Yeah, I have one on one of my Slingerland pedals. It's great.
I'm going to be doing a video on hot rodding your DW5000 pedals, because I have 5,000 pedals as well as 9,000 pedals.
Yep.
I love the feel of my 9,000s, but with the 5,000s, I just can't quite get them there. And buying new pedals all the time is so expensive. It's always kind of a risk, right? But I've been able to modify
9,000 in your 5,000.
Yeah, exactly.
In a way. So.
And then I also have a linkage from Trick with their new cross linkages between the pedals.
For double?
The
double pedal? Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited to see what that video looks like. So that'll be coming up soon, people. All right. So let's get back. Dude, I got to say, I love that video. I'm not normally like in the country. And I know you said it's not country, but, it looks like you guys are having such a great time, a fun time up north. So fantastic.
It's such a Minnesota vibe, It's like, that video turned out well, and it was fun to film that. And
actually, I know Joe, the guy who shot it.
Oh, you know Joe Brandeman. Okay, cool.
Yeah, not like friends or anything, but I've done a lot of production, and I know him and his wife. So.
Okay.
But
Joan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk quickly about your gear now. I noticed with the Jonny Lang you're using your Slingerland set.
Yeah.
So when we were talking earlier, I wanted to get an experience or an idea of what it's like to be able to perform in a place like that. Like, do you use your own kit, or do you have backline provided for you? How do they get your gear to the set, to the show?
Oh, the TV shows and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, typically rental gear for those. So it's going to be SIR.
Okay.
And SIR, it'll all be there when you show up.
All right.
And you got a little time, not a whole lot of time, to get that stuff ready. That whole process of the TV shows, it's the epitome of hurry up and wait.
Oh, really?
I mean, you're literally just hanging around for doing nothing until, all right, you got 20 minutes to get your gear ready. And then you got to get in, get out. And then, all right, and then we're going to do camera block, but you got to wait another 2 hours for that. All right, come in, do the camera block, and then do that whole thing. All right, you're good. We'll go have dinner and wait to do the show or whatever. And it's just, it's a lot of sitting around, and then just being in the moment and delivering in the moment. It's a crazy situation.
So do they have you record separately from the normal show, or is it literally in
it's the show.
It is okay.
But they'll tell you, if something happens, or if someone screws up or something, you can do it again. They do cut, it's the show we see is edited to a certain degree, typically, and at any given spot they'll edit it to make it right, because it's filmed. I think it's filmed. We're done around 5 p.m. or something. It's kind of all afternoon. When you have all that, you're done. Then, that's right, you're done, and then we go have dinner and celebrate, and we just did a show, great. And then you go home. Then you watch it at night in your hotel room.
That's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's weird. It's such a surreal thing to be in the room waiting, and you're watching the show. That there's TVs in the corner of your room, and you're watching the show happen. You can hear the band in the wall next door. You can feel them and watch it on TV at the same time, and it's just weird to in real time doing it. It's a trip. But.
Who's your favorite host, Leno?
Leno's always been. They all were super cool. I think Dave. I love Dave Letterman. I passed him in the hallway and he was just after, nice show, guys, or nice job. It was just me, and like, he just, nice job tonight. Well, thanks, you too, Dave. You know, and so he was cool. Jay always pokes his head in the room before every show. Like that just was his thing. He'd always come in and say hi. And I think Conan may have after. I know after the show we talked a lot. After the shows, they're kind of available, and like we're all in the hallways milling around, just talking and stuff. And Conan's a guitar player, so he had a lot to talk with the guitar players with and stuff. But it was cool when Max was there, and just Max for a bit. That was really cool. So,
what's it like talking with Max?
It's great. I mean,
what did you talk about? I mean, you talk about Bruce Springsteen.
Talk, and I'm not going to toot my own horn on this, but that first Conan thing. And it's funny when I watch it, I go, man, we played that song fast. We played it back. That is probably, I really yanked it back on that performance. No click on that song, but I really swamped that version. And I know Max said afterwards, like, man, that is the fattest groove we've had on this whole series, like all year, man. That groove was so. He told me that, and I was just like, yeah, really. You know, like, oh, thanks. You know, it was really cool. It was nice for him to say that. And so, you know, it's oftentimes it's just small talk. What do you say? You're like, you're so cool. What do you say to these people that you see on TV all the time? It's just you just let them kind of lead the conversation usually.
Yeah. Well, people were talking. Yeah, we're talking about Max Weinberg of Conan. My Max Weinberg's 7, right? Isn't it? Okay.
Yep.
And drummer Bruce Springsteen, legendary player.
Yeah, his son is an unreal drummer. Drums for
Slipknot.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just got married, didn't he? Or get engaged or something like that?
I'm not sure.
You're supposed to know these things, dude. No.
Sorry, I've been golfing.
Yeah, more important things. Okay, talk about your Slingerland endorsement. What was that endorsement like? What did you get? What was your first
cool.
kit from?
That was neat, you know. I mean, at that point, I had a Sabian deal in place. I think all these things kind of happened around the same time, but we had a guy at A&M Records that was sort of part of his job was to link players up with brands of stuff.
Okay.
And he's like, you know, his name was Al Marks. He's still around. Awesome dude. And yeah, I can hook you up with Tama, Pearl, but what are you interested? What do you want? You know? And I never really thought about it much. What I do know is I played a Slingerland Studio King kit at some music store. I just there was one there, and I hit it, and it was like, these things sound incredible. Wow, I was just blown away. And so it just instantly was like, that's cool. And then so when he said, I can hook you up with Slingerland too, and that was on the list. And they were bought by Gibson, so they're already a part of Gibson.
Okay.
But yeah, Al Marks hooked me up, linked me up with Pat Foley.
Okay.
And you know Pat Foley, or have you heard of him?
I know the name, but that's it.
He was sort of known for painting guitars for Gibson for a long time. So Les Pauls and all that, and all the fades, and all those like Cherry Sunbirds. Like he painted a lot of those, I guess, back in the day. But he got into drum making, custom drum stuff, and he did
Myron Grombacher's.
Huh?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh,
did he do Myron Grombacher's kit?
I don't know. He might have. I'm not aware of Myron's kit, but he could have. He could have. I just know his kit at that time. How I knew of him through a Modern Drummer article on Greg Bissonette was the Eat 'em and Smile tour kit, his Yamaha kit, that Armageddon kit it was called.
Yeah.
That gray one with all that stuff blown out. That's a Pat Foley kit. Wow. And so that's how I knew about him and heard like, oh, Pat Foley's at Slingerland. So, and he was painting he did all the lacquer finishes on the drums, which are incredible. Just furniture quality, just incredible quality of finish making on those kits. So got to meet him, and that was just, I got a loaner kit. They gave me, you kind of start out with a loaner kit. They're just going to give you one. And this was back when they were giving kits away.
Mm-hmm.
When brands were giving stuff away. It's pretty rare nowadays. You definitely got to be an A-list play for that. But back then it was a little more liberal. But it was like, I think me and Trey from Green Day and Matt Apps from Government Mule, we were the ones that they gave us kits.
That's so cool.
So fortunate for that. And Pat was just the coolest dude with me. I'm just so lucky to have met him and got to work with him. So I got a cherry mahogany kit with them that I used for a while, and that was my loaner kit. I still have it. I still have all my Soylent kits because they're just
okay.
Sound great. And then a year later, or a couple years later, for the next record, Wander This World, the idea of, let's get you your kit, let's make your kit. So I got to go there and pick out the shelves. What kind of finish do you want? Let's do something different. Let's do if we have the opportunity to go custom, which we did. And then he did a special finish for me, kind of an antique maple thing it's just a gorgeous kit. And I still play it all the time. You'll see it in my little videos and stuff, but I record with them at home because they're just such nice sounding kits, and you can do anything with them. And so I take them to sessions with me all the time or record with them at home. Okay. But super lucky. And so I stayed with them all through my Jonny years. Mm-hmm. And I got a third kit from them a little late, like after one of my last, actually, I think it was right after my last Jonny tour. I actually got a kit after that.
Okay.
So I got a few kits from them, and I love them all, and I was very, very fortunate to hook up with that.
That's totally cool. Now I was going to say, if I could totally geek out for a second here.
Yeah.
I do know the name Pat Foley, and I know why now. He painted my Bobby Blotzer drum set.
Get out.
Yeah, dude. So I just found an article on Modern Drummer.
Oh,
so,
man.
So it was Myron Grom. He did Myron Grombacher's kit. He's Pat Benatar's drummer who had the Japanese kit with the swirl,
the cool stands, the mic, cool cymbal stands and stuff. Yeah.
He did the Blotzer kit that I have, and I sent Billy pictures of my Rat drum set that I have from Invasion Privacy Tour. I just got to say it because I'm a dork, okay? Yep. But I got to let people know that I have this set, right?
I can dig it, man. I can dig that for sure. Dude, that is so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, because the first paint job he had on it were silhouettes of girls, and he didn't like it.
Yeah.
And so he, so his drum tech, what was his name? Forgot the drummer's the drum tech's name. He suggested to Bobby to put geometric shapes on it on white. So they quickly stripped it down, sent it out to Pat. He painted it, and the first time Blotzer saw it was when he walked on the set for Lay It Down video.
Oh, for the video! Wow.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, because I know Blotzer, and he's told me these stories about that kit, and that's how I know Pat Foley. I don't know him, but I know his name. So I have a piece of Pat Foley art.
That's you got Pat Foley kits. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry.
That's amazing. No, that's so cool. I dig that.
All right, let's talk about gear though. Going on now, I want to talk about this drum set. So, can you walk us through your Hairball drum set?
My Hairball kit. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
This is amazing.
Thanks. It was fun to put together. I got really lucky finding this kit. So it's a Tama Star Classic Babinga Elite.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a Japanese-made Babinga kit, not the Chinese one. They're just outstanding drums. I just cannot say enough about them. They're incredible. They sound amazing. They're articulate. They're deep. They're rich sounding. They just are powerful drums. And I got lucky. I stumbled upon this kit. What was the shop? The drum shop in Northeast. That was
Drum Loft.
Drum Loft. Yes, that's not there anymore, right? Yes,
correct.
Drum Loft, and it was in on consignment, I think. This kit was there so by the time the I got the Hairball gig, I need to come up with a kit, and I didn't. I've never owned a double bass kit. I've always just used a pedal.
Really?
So it's my first double kick kit, but yeah, it was hard to where do you find a double kick kit? Pretty quick. And
right.
And I just got lucky with this kit was at the drum loft, and I threw some cash at them, and they took it, and I got it. I'm so happy with it. It's 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16, 22 kicks. I think they're 18 deep.
Okay.
The depths are like 2 inches off the width, I think. Or no, so it's 7 by 8. Maybe it is an inch. I think no, it's an inch. So it's 11 by 12, 10 by 13. Or no, what am I saying? 9 by 12, 10 by 12, 11 by 13. Yeah, so like that. Octobans, gong drum. I mean, so it's just came with everything. The rack, the kit, it was all there.
Are you serious?
It was everything. Snare, octos, gong drum, and cases, with hard cases, and the rack. I mean, it was just all the hardware. This a freak thing that it was there and available. It was just in hindsight, you just go, oh, this is the perfect kit. So I bought it not even knowing how I was going to set it up.
Okay.
You know, I just knew it was a big kit. I got options. I could figure this out. I can go 4 up top. I go 2. I can go 3 and 2, and I mean, I could go any configuration I wanted, but I went with a pretty. It's kind of like I don't know, a little Tommy Aldridge or a little Terry Bozzio, a little I don't know what some other influences in that kit.
Simon Phillips.
Little Alex Van Halen, you know, it's just but it's that vibe, the symmetrical thing going on to a certain degree. And Evans heads.
Wait, is that a tom off to your left? Floor tom? Is that a
Yes. Oh, yes. And that left floor tom, it's an 18-inch stainless steel Ludwig.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah, so it happens to match. I mean, I couldn't find a Star Classic Babinga like 18 floor, and I had an 18 floor already for my existing stainless steel kit at home. So I just added that in there, and actually I love that. It fits and it matches like sonically. Somehow it works. I don't know how, but it does. It's dented up a little bit. The little backstory on that floor tom, I got it in California. It was apparently owned by Trent Reznor, or it was in Trent Reznor's studio or something like that.
Okay.
I paid a little too much for it, I think, but it's because I needed to round out I have a stainless steel big beat, like 12, 13, 16, 22.
Okay.
But I wanted to be able to do a Bonham-y type of thing, and I needed an 18 floor, and it took me a long time to find one, and I just went for it and got it. But so I ended up adding it to the kit because I knew I wanted an 18 there. And I'm used to that, and I love it now. And actually, I have a trigger on it too. That, I mean, the 18 sounds huge as is, but I have I'm triggering some massive sounds within that drum as well too. So it sounds pretty cool.
What electronics are you using here?
Off to the left, so the little iPad that I have runs my mixer and a sometimes click track.
Okay.
Independent of just my own click track for reference.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have it's called a TM6, a Roland TM6 trigger module.
Mm-hmm.
And it's built just for triggering. I used to have the Roland SPD SX.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to trigger off of that too. I used to do kick and snare from that, and I triggered some sounds through that. It triggered okay. But since I got this trigger module, it triggers way better, way more accurately, way better. And you can make and create sounds and layer sounds. It's a really, really awesome device to kind of hybrid your kit, to take your existing sound and just layer sounds on it.
Okay.
Triggers really well. So I trigger both kicks, snare, floor tom. So that's 4 inputs. Yes, and I have one pad.
After your ride, right?
Yep. I have a pad right by my ride. So it's triggering 6 things, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's my others? What's my 6? I can't even. Oh, and a foot pedal on my left side too to trigger some things. So, I kick and snare. I mostly just do kick and snare. I'll layer in sounds. So, like, let's say we're doing Def Leppard. I got the Def Leppard sounds right there. I can create sounds that are like, it's very easy to make the sounds that I need. If it's like, okay, I'm doing a Motley Crue song, and I listen to that song and hear that sound, I can tune it, find it, pitch it, do all this stuff, and layer that into my sound. It doesn't take too long. It's pretty easy to work with. It's a really, really neat module. And for something like Hairball, where I'm doing lots of different acts, and I want to try and hone in on those sounds best I can. I got one kit, but this gives me some more width sonically to work with. And it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's fantastic. So can you also walk through your cymbal setup?
Yeah, I've been with Sabian cymbals for quite a while, and they've been really, really nice to me. So with this, I'm going all bright sounds, just going for cut. And so I went to the Sabian. I'll give you my update. I went to the factory last year, and so some of these are going to be ones that I picked out from there. So the hats are, they called it a fusion hat top, but it's basically an AA top.
Okay.
So it's the same thing as an AA, but it had a fusion hat mark on it. An Evolution bottom, HHX Evolution bottom. Those are 15s. It was just a magic combo. It just worked out great. I've used other combos. I've used the AAX accelerator hats in the past, and Paragon hats, and combinations of those two. And I used to use those. This is my current combo, and I love it. It's just so easy, really crisp, but they open up really wide. Crashes left to right. Let's see, mostly AA explosions. So I have a 17 explosion left, 18 explosion on the next one. The one on my right, what is that? Is I'm using something different there. Sometimes a vault crash. But what is that? I can't even remember. And then a 19 explosion. What's the one? I'm drawing a blank. Well, they're all AAX.
Okay.
The Chinas are Paragons, 19-inch Paragons. I got a couple of Radia cup chimes on top of my 18s in the center. I have an 11-inch AAX Splash. Or I think that's the Max Splash. I think that's the Portnoy Splash. It's 11-inch.
Okay.
The ride, I used to have an AAX or HHX Power Ride. It's a great rock ride, but I replaced it with the AA Dry Ride 21-inch. It's a pretty standard ride. Like Chad Smith and the Peppers, that's his main ride, and I know Ray Luzier uses that ride as well. And then I have a second ride that's a 20-inch El Sabor that really opens up. It's sort of my wash ride.
Now, is that the one you're using on your the video for Demented Waltz?
No, totally different. Totally different ride. That one, that ride, and I don't even think they make that one anymore. It's a not Raw Bell. It's a Raw ride. It's the HH Hammered Raw Dry Ride. I don't know, something like that. They don't make it anymore, but it's an unlathed, hammered, really dry. It's a lot like. It sounds sort of similar to my David Garibaldi Jam Master, but it's a little drier.
Okay.
Because it's not polished or lathed or anything like that.
So in December, we did an update with you on your visit to Sabian. Was it December we did that article?
Yeah.
And it was wonderful to see everything that Sabian's been doing. I did not say Feisty. Okay. Sorry. But I've been really excited about their Ankh symbol that the Sabian's been doing. And they're doing a lot of creative different tones and sounds.
Totally.
I've never heard the Paragons. And that was the Neil Peart series. Can you tell me a little bit about what made them special cymbals?
The Paragons are they're crisp, clean sounding. all the along the whole line. It's very clean. The crashes are bright, and the rides and the hats are very clean and crisp sounding. But with it, like a mix of, I think it's like their AA series, their regular A kind of series, but I think a little bit of AAX hammering in there. It's a mix of the two types of hammering, but a little, like the ride is a little thicker than you'd think. And then even the hats too, they seem a little thicker, which can sometimes translate to clangy, but they're not really clangy. They just have a nice bright thing going on, a lot of energy to them. Great for any rock drummer. It's a great rock line that's not too thick and clangy.
Okay. No, I just love that set. And what else? What do you use primarily for, like, when you're doing session work at home?
Yeah, could be anything. So obviously, like the Slingerland kits are for like my modern sounding kits, and then a lot of vintage kits, old Ludwigs. Got a 50s Radio King, Slingerland Radio King kit.
Wow.
I got a Slingerland Concert Tom kit, stainless steel kit, Ludwig stainless steel. I have a Heyman kit. Have you heard of Heymans? Yeah.
Yeah.
5-piece Heyman. That thing sounds incredible.
So can you tell me this? I've never touched one. And one of the articles that I read about this, I interviewed Bruford a number of years ago. And he was one of the few.
He had a Heyman Tom in one of his kits.
Yeah, and I asked him specifically about what I'm going to ask you in a minute here, and he had no idea. He's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But what was interesting about it is in the articles that I read, the guy who invented the Heyman drum set purposely put a lacquer metal interior finish in there to make them a louder drum, because during that time period they weren't loud. Is that true? Or do they sound louder?
It's true. I don't know. I don't know about louder. I think it's all in relation to maybe what was built at the time.
Okay.
I would say the kits that are built now with sharper bearing edges and harder woods are probably louder than this. This still has a vintage vibe to it. I know they did that because back then kits weren't mic'd up as often or mic'd up as much. And so that was sort of a selling point. And Ludwig did that with their kits. That's what the white paint was sort of for too, to kind of, but that guy, the Heyman guy, they claimed that it was a harder, more durable, it was a better sealer than Ludwig, is kind of what they were selling it as.
But they also infused metal particles in it.
And they very well may have. It's nothing you can see.
Okay.
Give me 10 seconds.
Oh. I think we're going to see Heyman people. That'll be exciting. Heyman are legendary, and I need to learn a little bit more about them, but they are very important, and they're around for quite some time. A lot of players used them for a short amount of time, and oh my goodness, I can't believe this. This is
and it's shiny. I don't know if you can be. It's hard to probably tell through the head, but it's a lot glossier. That interior is glossier. You might catch it on some of the edges of that inner ring. There's some mild cracks, but you can't see any metal or anything like that in it, but it's a glossier finish. And so you can tell it's a harder finish, but this was made in the pine finish. Killer drum.
Wow. That is a beautiful drum.
Yeah. And everything, the chrome, everything on it was killer on it. So,
where did you pick that up?
Some guy in Maple Grove here in local.
Really?
I found it in an ad, and I didn't intend to buy it, but he had a pretty good price on it, and yeah, I think I'll always keep this one. You don't see Heymans too often. You normally see the metallic finishes. You don't. Apparently, this is a really rare finish. I think it was called a pine finish.
Okay.
And great sounding drum.
Thank you so much.
Like a Ludwig alternative. It's a lot like Ludwig. But yeah, great sounding drum. And what else? I don't know. I got a few other kits and just in all kinds of sizes and configurations. But the big wide open sounds, the super dry sounds, and I treat that with cymbals too. It's just I try to have any sound available, whether it's cymbals, bright and loud to super dry to weird sounds, and so that happens with with kits, kits you don't really change out too often. There's general things, but mostly snare and cymbals really get the most movement from song to song, tend to.
Mm-hmm.
So I have probably around 30 snares at home to pick from. It's not like, I'm not like and I've used them. And,
Right.
I don't, a lot of collectors just collect just to have them and stuff, but I don't get something unless it fits a niche. If
Out of your
it's something
collection,
that no other drum does or whatever, I'm more apt to get it.
out of your collection, what's your favorite wood and what's your favorite metal? Or go-to?
I really like that Babinga kit. That's my first Babinga kit. Otherwise,
Okay.
most of my kits are all usually maple, and that's just, I don't even know if I have birch. Actually, I thought I heard that Heyman kits were birch.
Okay.
They might be. I don't know exactly. I've just read that. I think that it was birch. So I don't know. It might be. But otherwise, maple is just right down the middle. Babinga is pretty special though. It's a pretty it's something about it. It's super hardwood. You wouldn't think it does what it does, but you really can get a good low timbre out of it. But it's very articulate. It's not mushy when you get those kind of lower tones going on. It still has a lot of articulation, and it cuts a lot. It's very durable wood. It puts up with all the elements really well. That hairball that we play outside, inside, all this stuff. It really deals with the elements really well. Favorite metal, for snares, I'll probably go copper. I love brass though too. It's pretty close between brass and copper. But I think I'd lean copper, just a little darker.
Okay. So with the Babinga in that Thömmes set, do you think it projects more than it resonates? You think that's a special part of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're pretty loud. They cut pretty good.
It's just with Babinga being such a dense wood.
Yep,
It
I know.
generally it projects versus resonates, and I just wanted to.
Yes, exactly. And these shells are a little thicker than I'm used to too. I mean, usually when you go to a maple shell, people want the thin, or that's a popular thing. You get lower tones with a thinner shell. But I'm surprised how thick these shells are and how low they go.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, they cut really well.
Well, we're coming up on over an hour and a half, so what we should do is probably wrap this up very shortly. Just have a couple more questions to ask quickly in regards to some of the work you've done. This will lead into the final video. You've worked with a number of artists, including Soul Asylum, Honeydogs, and Bobby V. What did you do with Soul Asylum? What did you do with them?
I was with Jonny at the time, but Soul Asylum's manager at the time was managing Shannon Kerfman, and some other artists. But just Soul Asylum needed a drummer, and my name got called up somehow. I got on the radar, and I don't know if it was even the band that knew about me, but I think it was their management that did.
How long did you work with them?
So I just did a number of shows. I just played with them live for a period around 2000, I think. 2000, 2001.
Okay.
Around that time period. And I did some demoing with them, did some shows with them. Super fun. It was amazing. I think I was close to being a member because they kind of were offering that. But the whole time I was with them, I was just like, I'm with Jonny. I kind of kept it at that. And it was really super tempting to be part of a group as opposed to a side guy type of thing. But that was a choice I made where at the time it was like, I'm just sticking with Jonny. He's been loyal to me. I'm going to be loyal to him. And ended up doing my last tour with Jonny after that. But when I did that last Jonny tour, and then Michael Bland got in the picture with them, and he's been with them ever since, and he kills it with them. So,
of course. And the Honeydogs?
Yeah, Honeydogs. Similar. Well, I don't know. I guess I've known all those guys. Trent Norton, who I spoke of earlier, I've known him for a long time. He's one of the guys I've known the longest since I've moved to the cities, and so he's the bass player in that band. Okay. And a lot of them are in the band Hookers and Blow, or there's a cover band called Hookers and Blow. They're called Sunshine Committee now. I think so, but through that. And so I know when Noah left but Peter Anderson, I don't know where I fit, where I was just doing shows with them for a certain amount of time. And there was one crazy, like, at some of my busiest times too. I had one weekend where I played. It was like I played Friday night in Tulsa with Jonny. Flew to Long Beach to play with Soul Asylum the next day on Saturday. Flew home and drove to Duluth to go play with the Honeydogs on the Sunday or something like that. 3 days in a row, 3 bands, 3 cities, flying around. It was pretty crazy. That was a very busy time for me.
That's rock and roll, though, man. That's right there.
Sure
That's
is.
that's choice.
Yeah. No, it was really cool. It was fun to it was a weekend. It was fun to just even say that I was doing that. It's like, it was fun. It was fun being that busy. But, and yeah, so that's just, and that's the way the Minneapolis scene is. You're not too far from anyone knowing someone. Everyone knows each other to a certain degree. So,
well, the Galactic Cowboy Orchestra too. I'm so impressed with your playing. There's 3 players that have been with that band that are just phenomenal. Alec Tackman, I just spoke to, had him on the show, and he talked about that. I am just blown away by your work with that band.
Yeah.
You did, how many records did you do with them?
I just did the one.
Okay.
I wasn't with them for too long.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was fun. I really liked being in that band and playing that music. It was a fun turn for me. I mean, I think I was right out of Rocket Club.
Okay.
And because that was starting to come to a close, and then and when that happened, I think that kind of opened up, because I think they were interested in me earlier, but I was busy, and then my schedule opened up, and I ended up doing this. And very fun band, very just weird, eclectic, along the lines of music I like. I like weird music. I like strange stuff. I like proggy things. Anything of that style. So Dixie Dregs, all that stuff. I love that stuff. So. King Crimson, Mahavishnu, all those sounds that they have, I was just into it. So, and it lasted for a while. We toured for a while, and then I cut the tracks, and then we just had some interpersonal things that didn't work out, and I was let go of in the band. We're all good now. It's all water under the bridge, and it's all good stuff. But it was a fun thing to be a part of, and it was fun making the record. But it was weird. I did my tracks. I did. In the winter time, and the album, it was almost like a year later. Like they doing for them to finish their tracks. We cut live, but we just to mainly get the drums happening.
Okay.
So we had all those, but half that record is out too.
Okay.
So I'm on half that record.
Okay.
So, yeah, but that was fun and fun music to play. Love, I just like something different. So, as you've seen in the course of my career, I guess I've done lots of different things, and there's more.
Well, we definitely have to do a second show. I can have you back on so we can talk more in depth about specific items, because this is a great introduction to your career. But like you said, it's a very broad, phenomenal career. I'm becoming such a huge fan of your playing. I just love what you do, and just seeing the breadth of what you're able to do. So,
thank you so much. I appreciate that very much.
I really appreciate your time on the show too. So let's close out the show with Demented Waltz. And if you introduce the song, and then we'll have you back on soon.
Okay. Galactic Cowboy Orchestra. Pretty weird music. It's awesome though. This is a song called Demented Waltz. It's got some pretty angular guitar playing in it, and it's all full of time signature stuff and all that, but that was a fun one to make, and I made a little clip for it because I recorded all the sessions for it, my drumming. I recorded all that stuff, so I figured I'd make a little clip for that. And no one's ever seen this, I don't think, so I think this is the first time anyone's going to see this, and probably the first time most people have heard this music. So but enjoy, have fun.
Opening beats provided by Alec Tackman. You too can own this fantastic multi-volume library of live drum loops and samples. Whether you're a drummer looking for new ideas, Opening beats provided by Alec Tackman. You too can own this fantastic multi-volume library of live drum loops and samples. Whether you're a drummer looking for new ideas or you know a songwriter looking for a drum loop library, this is the library you're looking for. Support a local musician and drummer. Go to Alec Tackman's website. That is www.alectackman.com. Spelled ALECTACKMANN. Are you looking for a drum instructor that will help you find your own musical voice? Whether you're a beginner, advanced, or in between, the David Stanek School of Drumming offers an experienced and professional approach to help you take control of your drumming. David served on the faculty of McNally Smith College of Music for 27 years. Currently, he serves on the Percussive Art Society Drum Set Committee and is a member of the Modern Drummer, Remo, and Vic Firth education teams. David has authored multiple books including Mastering the Tables of Time. It was voted the #1 education book in the Modern Drummer 2009 Readers Poll. Let David help you find your beat. Please visit www.davidstanekschoolofdrumming.com. David Stanek is spelled DAVIDSTANOCH, schoolofdrumming.com. Again, the David Stanek School of Drumming. You've been listening to Minnesota Drummer. Minnesota Drummer is copyright 2020, all rights reserved. Any content played or viewed during this broadcast is used with permission, is copyright of the respective owners, and is used for promotional purposes only. No part of this broadcast can be edited, reproduced, and cannot be sold. Please look us up and follow us on our various social media sites. You can follow us at minnesotadrummer.com. There you'll find our contact forum where you can give us feedback and recommend a drummer. Thank you for listening.